It is with great sadness that I begin this video by offering my condolences to the friends, family and colleagues of Mr. Richard Franklin, who passed away on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2023. Richard Franklin, of course, played Mike Yates, aka Captain Yates, in classic Doctor Who. At regular intervals, I rip the mickey out of UNIT because I love them. And part of the core identity of UNIT back in the day was most certainly this character. Alongside Nicholas Courtney as Lethbridge Stewart and John Levine as Sergeant Benton, Richard Franklin's portrayal of Captain Yates was a wonderful, fun, adventurous addition to the Jon Pertwee roster in the early 70s Doctor Who, where the series transisted from this kind of classic, nuanced sci-fi thing to a more earthbound, explosive, stuntman-riddled, boys with toys action caper that was the Pertwee era. UNIT's role in envisioning what Doctor Who was all about cannot be understated. That whole era was absolutely fantastic. From Pertwee's first season to his last season, none of it would have been the same without UNIT, and none of it would have been the same without Captain Yates. That wisecracking, ever smart, ever adventurous, tough, agile, great with a pistol, adventurous, lively, charismatic fellow. A real enjoyable, heroic, relatable, marvellous character. Captain Yates was brilliant. So for all you friends, for all you family members and all you fans and all you colleagues of Richard Franklin, the Chosen Chimp offers his condolences. Rest in peace, Richard Franklin, and thank you for your brilliant performance of Captain Yates. Present day. Here we go. It's Christmas Day. The church on Ruby Road. The slate has been wiped clean of that small pocket of David Tennantness. This bizarre retrospect of Doctor Who, and we're all still kind of questioning, what the dickens was it for? In my last video, I absolutely gushed about the giggle, and I think I was the only person on the internet that did. People from all sides of the ridiculous Doctor Who discourse and beyond appeared, I mean, I'm kind of generalising a bit there, but most people appeared not to like it, or certainly not as much as I liked it. I gave it a glowing review and I stick by it. I loved the giggle. I think it was fantastic. However, it was kind of presumptuous of me to say things like it was the payoff that fans wanted. I mean, how the hell did I know what the fans wanted? I was living inside a bubble. I was deliberately staying off the internet to make sure that my opinions would be subjective. So if you're watching that video and you think, yeah, that's a bit of a brazen, unfounded statement, Chimp, it's because it was, and I apologise. And I shouldn't have said things like that without checking the facts first. Most fans didn't think it was a payoff, but a lot of people did, and I liked it. So from that angle, I will stick by my review. I think the giggle was excellent, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that that's all sort of done now. I'm glad we are finally blessed with the opportunity to look into the future of Doctor Who, which is what it's all about. So, after the giggle finished, we knew we were getting pirate goblins, and I was immediately sold on that, but what I was not expecting was to tune into YouTube and find a video simply titled The Goblin Song, a musical number. How very Disney. We haven't seen one of those to that extent since Linda Barron singing about the Last Chance Saloon in The Gunfighters way back in the 1960s. An episode that a lot of fans didn't much care for. So I was looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, is this a bit of a step too far? Is this venture into the musical stylings a bit too much of a, a kind of sort of magical Disney cop-out? So when I watched this video and I realised that the subject pertained to the consumption of a human baby, I was glad. I kind of thought that was the twist than it needed to darken this lively spectacle, being a 41-year-old man and forgetting that Doctor Who's a family show. But yeah, the Goblin song, it's about eating a baby. It's like they hired Shakira to write them a song, but then they crashed their budget, so they had to get Frankie Boyle to finish the lyrics. So I watched it and I thought to myself, what does this tell us about the episode? What does this tell us about the church on Ruby Road? It doesn't really tell us anything, because this is only a small component of what we get in this Christmas story. Now, I'm going to cut straight to the chase here, guys. I'm a bit of a busy man, I gotta say. Look, full disclaimer here, I'm not just going to say that I like everything Doctor Who that gets thrown in my direction. I'm not going to say it's great by default, because, you know, where's the subjective, objective criticism if I do that? That said, I really liked this episode. I did. It pushed aside the whole grandiose spectacle of what the 3 David Tennant adventures gave us, in that was all encompassing. It was about cities being destroyed, planets in danger, unit military presence, it's on the news, the government's been infected, epic, 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 boom, explosions. Okay, we're done with that now. And now we are substituting that for what I think is the real strength of Doctor Who, just that small pocket of existence, that small band of people who you would never ever meet if their lives weren't touched by this mysterious time traveller going by the name of the Doctor. A girl, her foster mum, her foster nan, living in a flat in a top floor in London. And that's it. It's perfect, because it's kind of like how the Matt Smith saga started. The 11th Hour was kind of similar. Just a TARDIS in a garden and a little girl. It's all you need. Characters, drama. This is the strength, this is the power of Doctor Who. I'm not saying I think that this entire episode was perfect. And if I'm honest, I'm still trying to allow it to settle in my brain, having watched it twice, but I walked away feeling instantly gratified and instantly fulfilled. Despite the fact that we have been deprived of a Ncuti Gatwa post-regeneration madness, I am happy to see him coming straight into the fray, fully charged and ready to go. Very much like Christopher Eccleston's Doctor did, so it's not that uncommon, really, for him not to have post-regeneration madness. Now, is he wearing old clothes from the TARDIS? Is this wrong? He's wearing a kilt, which might be Jamie McCrimmon's. He's wearing a black leather jacket that might be Christopher Eccleston's. And then later on he's wearing blue trousers, which could be Tennant's and the trainers, and he's got some kind of stripy top, which could be Colin Baker's or Whittaker's. The only thing that seems to be exclusively his is the brown jacket. Am I talking complete cobblers there? Is he not pilfering, but is he taking old clothes from the TARDIS and just dressing up because he likes to dress up, because he's that kind of fella, and he's having a dance in a club and he's loving life? He's brand new, he's got a brand new face, he's got a brand new personality, and he is just in awe of the world, fresh-faced, no exhaustion, no past regrets, sort of. We'll get to those. I think it was really important that Russell T goes into the real nitty grit of the new Doctor. Let's think of some pivotal moments where that happens, like David Tennant crying over the Master's body when he dies. Matt Smith's Doctor crying when Amy gets touched by an angel, and there's another good example with Matt Smith when he finds out he's off to Trenzalore and he's having a bit of a sob on the sofa. Peter Capaldi, there's no end of moments. Like in the end of Peter Capaldi's first series, when he and Clara are pretending to each other that everything's okay when it's not, and then it goes to that flashback of him opening the TARDIS door having followed Missy's coordinates supposedly to Gallifrey, but when he opens the door, it's just the blackness of space because he's been tricked, and then he's just bashing angrily and despairingly on the TARDIS control console. And of course, the big pipe bomb he drops in the Saigon invasion. We all know that one. Nitty grit of Doctor Who, and I was already excited to see this in Ncuti Gatwa. We didn't really get it in Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, which is one of the big failings of that era, and I don't put it down to Jodie Whittaker's acting at all. I think it was the writing that let her down. But I also thought it's important, let's not use it all up straight away. I don't want to see this Doctor crying until his second series, alright? However, they proved me wrong on that, because he does cry. And I'll try and get back to that in a minute. But I think this is something that actually worked. I think it's a dimension to his character that allows audiences to get to know what is different about this brand new Doctor. And here we go, the church on Ruby Road. So, Ruby Sunday is a foster child having been left in front of a church on Christmas Day. Christmas Day, for that very reason, is now her birthday. And she gets taken in by the church, and then it cuts to several decades later where she is a young adult and she is having a conversation. There's a motorbike out there. She is having a conversation with Davina McCall, because Davina McCall does that celebrity DNA thing to find out who your ancestors are. But it's not long before she gets a call from McCall saying that she doesn't have any ancestry anywhere. Basically, she's an anomaly. Here we go again. Bit of a familiar story in that regard. We've seen that before with Clara, etc. Amy Pond, kind of, sort of, you know. I'm kind of taking a leap of faith here and trusting Russell T Davies to do something a little bit different this time around. But straight away, we got a mystery with Ruby Sunday. She's a great companion. Very lively, very optimistic. Not grumpy just for the sake of it. Real lively, warm characters in this, and her foster mother Carla and her foster grandmother Sherry, also by the surname of Sunday. These are characters who have faced adversity, they have troubles, but that doesn't mean that they are going to be kind of negative. It's not a negative experience for the audience. It's inspiring and it's joyful. And I think that's great. I think Doctor Who's really good for that and always has been. And it's important that these characters exude that, because I don't know about you, but when I'm turning on my TV to watch fiction right now, I like it when characters kind of tell me that things are okay and that things can be nice and pleasant even though things are tough. And that's great, and this is exactly what Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is all about. He's loving life. He crosses paths with Ruby Sunday over a consecutive number of days, leading up to Christmas Day, when a brand new baby comes into the Sunday household. A small baby by the name of Lulu, and Ruby Sunday is charged with just one task. Don't lose the baby. Don't lose it, okay? Just keep it in its cot, you know, feed it, change its nappy, give it a cuddle, but don't let it be kidnapped by a big ship in the sky with a big, giant, fat gremlin that's going to eat it, okay? Don't do that. Goblins are making her life a bit of a troublesome misery, or at least they are trying to, because they feed off coincidence. And the coincidence is that Carla, the foster mother, is charged with taking custody of this baby exactly yay many years from when she was charged with taking custody of Ruby. And this is something that the Doctor calls the language of coincidence. It's a brand new science, and he loves it. He makes it very clear. He makes it a very clear distinction that this is not magic. Doctor Who doesn't really do magic. It's an unexplored science. This is something that's touched on by Tennant's Doctor in The Giggle, of course, when the Toymaker storms the unit headquarters and causes all that madness. He says to Shirley in that episode, "Would you be happy if I said he is controlling atoms," or something along those lines? And she says, "Is that really what's happening?" And he says, "No." And that lack of explanation, I think, is a really good explanation, which is why I think the Toymaker really worked for me personally in that episode. And this is something that Russell T is really going to stick to create a new foundation of weird alien anomalous activity in this new era of Doctor Who. It's not magic, it's unexplored science, and luck and coincidence are the name of the game in this. The goblins feed off it, they use it as energy to time travel, I think. So the Doctor and Ruby go into the goblin ship in the sky, and the goblins are wonderfully daft and silly and almost fun if it wasn't for their desire to eat babies. They are a mix of CGI and costumes. The costumes are absolutely brilliant. I loved the behind the scenes of Doctor Who Unleashed. This is how you make good special effects. You have a good set, you have a good bit of CGI, you have a good bit of green screening, you have puppets, and you have costumes. You use all of it together to create a seamless whole, and that is what they did really well. The song, in Ncuti Gatwa's words, it bops, and it does bop. I mean, it's kind of annoyingly catchy. I don't know, I sort of like it. I'm kind of into it. I was humming it on Christmas Day when I was washing up. There you go, I did. I'm sorry, but I did. It was kind of fun. And what I wasn't expecting, what they don't show you in the trailer, is that Ncuti Gatwa and Ruby Sunday continue to sing this. And as a 41-year-old grown-up person who's obsessed with Doctor Who, I should have probably not liked this. I should have slightly squirmed at the Doctor dancing and singing, but I just didn't. I liked it. Yeah, it was kind of catchy and infectious. They ad-lib all these lyrics. It's, you know, it's the kind of it's the highlight reel of that very sad occasion that's going to happen a couple of series down the line when Ruby Sunday and the Doctor part ways, and they look back on all their previous adventures, and the first time that they met and have an adventure, they're having a sing and dance. It's fun. Come on, it's Christmas. And I think the tone and the balance of this was just right. And they rescue the baby, because of course they bloody do. Come on. But also during that, when the Doctor's trying to explain this language of coincidence, he's also messing around with the ropes, which is kind of like their version of electricity. It's an intricate circuitry of ropes that he manages to unravel. He learns the language of ropes. These are all really fun, good, original ideas. Very Moffat-esque, very Russell T Davies-esque. It's kind of what I realised was missing in the Chibnall era. No disrespect, but anything that was kind of fun and original and new. He's got the strength gloves as well, the gloves of strength. What are they called? Great research, Chimp. You really went to town on preparing for this video on Boxing Day morning. But yeah, so the gloves, that's a new thing. A new addition to make narrative a bit more plausible in the way that psychic paper does. It distributes weight so you can hang on ladders without, you know, sort of hurting your arms, which is kind of what would happen in real life. So they've sort of done that just because people can climb stuff more, and it also deflects the strength to you, so you can kind of pull things down. like he does later. So rescuing the baby and bringing the baby back down to the flat and putting her in her cot just as Carla turns up is the fun portion of this episode. It's fun, it's a caper, the doctor's making all kinds of witty little diversions and the granny is flirting with him, and it's all good and fun and enjoyable and entertaining, getaway fly and very, very Christmassy. It's marvellous, but here is the real meat and the bones of this story. The goblins hatch a plan. They crack the ceiling, swines, and then they travel back in time and create an embarrassment of a perversion of history changing by taking Ruby as a baby in place of the one that they failed to eat. They travelled back in time to that exact point and took the other baby, and this causes a ripple effect. Straight away, the flat is grey and miserable. Straight away, lovely, lovely foster mum Carla is not a very likeable person. Only fostering babies for the money, and she doesn't want to do it on Christmas Day because she just wants things to herself. And amazing performance by the actress who plays Carla. I deeply apologise that I failed to memorise this woman's name, but the transition from the happy character to the moody character is excellent, almost like it's a different person acting completely. She is sullen, she is selfish. You didn't think she'd have it in her, but there it is, and it's all because Ruby Sunday never touched their lives. That's how important she was, straight off the bat. All these familiar little tropes of how important companions are and ways to explain how small people in small pockets of the world can create big effects in big ways. Very Russell T. And then she's crying, and Ncuti Gatwa's crying. It's bad memories for him too. All this fostering and looking after children and being compassionate when compassionate's needed, because he's still struggling with the revelation of the timeless child. Again, this new RTD2 era doing more for the Chibnall era than the Chibnall era did for the Chibnall era. This is a backstory. And he has a little cry, and it's not the end-all be-all of his character like I thought it would be when he gets to this emotional state. It's just a dimension to this new doctor that he's particularly sensitive, that he's particularly touched by tragedy, that he's not embarrassed about showing his emotion on the forefront. So you get to see him cry in the first episode, and I think it's really lovely. And then the doctor just snaps into it. It's the doctor. He's like, right, I'm going to fix this. And he does. And how does he fix this? By impaling the Goblin King on a church. Who saw that coming? He climbs up, he goes into the past, he climbs up, he uses his Mavity gloves, whatever, to pull the balloon down, impaling the balloon and the Goblin King. Those goblins really did like that king. I can't help thinking there's going to be some kind of revenge in order here. I don't know. But yeah, so that wasn't a very good Christmas for that character, just getting a right through the belly. Very well done scene. I like the darkness, I like the church, I like the snow. It gave me shades of, well, of course it did, you know what I'm going to say if you've watched my videos before, of the Time Worm Revelation Paul Cornell novel with Sylvester McCoy dancing with death, quite literally, outside of a church, and that sort of darkness, that kind of sort of almost post-80s-ness about it, which is where Russell T Davies cut his teeth as a underground sort of Doctor Who writer. It's a very small, controlled setting, and it gives this drama room to breathe with the music, the whatever that's called, and having all of this in place and these events circulating around in a weird sort of loop, but now with the Doctor just cutting his way into there just to make sure things play out as they could be. He's not solving the problems of the family, he's just stopping the family from being destroyed unwarrantedly because of this goblin time thing. And you see the real mother, or the real parent, walking off in the distance. Another mystery planted. Interesting. Thank you, Russell T. Something to think about. I think because the stakes were smaller, because the narrative was more controlled and it contained less characters in a more finite situation, there was less that could go wrong for this, which I think is why mechanically it worked a lot better than some of the things that we saw in the 3 David Tennant specials. But all in all, I think this was the kind of Doctor Who that I certainly personally have been waiting for, because I think it really is all about small people doing big things. It's the essence that Russell T Davies really captured as soon as he became showrunner way back in 2005. The way he brought the experience as relatable to the audience as he could, to people watching at home, whoever they may be, in whatever walks of life. It looks and smells and tastes and feels real because it is grounded in reality, and all the Doctor Who science fiction madness is kind of the icing on the cake. Chibnall sort of did this the other way round, and that's why I think his tenure didn't really work. And hopefully this, I'd like to think that this is a redemption for Russell T, for some of the fans that didn't like what he did in the 3-part specials. It was homely, it was cozy. I'm trying to think of something bad to say about it just to make sure that my criticism's balanced, but I can't really. It was just a really functional, adequately dramatic bit of Doctor Who that had its fair share of originality and uniqueness. I get this sense that Ncuti Gatwa has slipped very naturally into this role. I think that maybe that certain nuances of the performance, that certain facial expressions and certain deliveries of dialogue may come a bit more naturally to him later down the line. That's not to say that his performance was rigid, far from it. It was more that I did kind of feel like in certain moments that he was just getting started, that he was kind of still learning on the job, that there's a kind of, as nuanced as this new Doctor is and as charismatic as this new Doctor is, it still feels like there's a bit of a blank canvas for more personality to build on, and that just comes with getting into the part. You watch the first David Tennant episode and the first Matt Smith episode, exactly the same. It's fine. So I'm really excited for this new era, and that's it. I don't know what else I can add. I think that I'm glad that they kind of just put everything to bed. I'm glad that the ending of that David Tennant saga of him settling down is actually ending, that all those characters are done. And yeah, of course, we're going to see him again one day. But for now, we are encouraged to forget about all that. It's the Ncuti Gatwa era, it's the Millie Gibson era, the Doctor, Ruby Sunday, and all the family coming together adventures. I can't wait to see it. It looks exciting in the clips. No Daleks or Cybermen or any classics, but you can bet they are going to turn up. Of course they are. Of course they are. So that is it, my friends. I think I have waffled on enough about this adventure. Yeah, Mrs. Flood. I don't do intelligent theories, I do stupid ones. So Mrs. Flood might have some sort of relation to River Song or Amy Pond. I'm sorry. That's probably the worst thing I've ever said on this channel, but I could be right. So, I hope you guys all had a good Christmas, and I hope you are all geared up for the new year in whatever faculty of life you are living in. I hope you are well. I'm just going to do, for those of you who are still here, a quick plug for my Patreon. Please, chosenchimp.com/ please, patreon.com/chosenchimp. Sign up and become a distinguished follower for just £1 a month, and you can request your classic Doctor Who story for review, just so long as it's not a Dalek or a Cybermen story. I'm covering those start to finish. Anyway, now, listen, new year. I'm a busy man on this channel, and the next order of business that I am going to take care of is doing what I should have done a long time ago, and that's cover all of these wonderful Patreon requests that my Patreons have requested. Paying customers, and I need to deliver the product of the Chosen Chimp, waffling on about certain episodes of classic Doctor Who. That is where I'm going to go next, because you deserve it, and I'm very grateful to everyone who has stuck around for this channel. I'm very grateful to everyone who continues to get excited, who leaves nice comments, and all the rest. Like I said in my last video, I know it's cliche, but this Chosen Chimp thing would be nothing without you. So I wish you the very, very best of New Year's. I wish all of you a fantastic New Year. I hope you had a good one, and if you didn't, I hope you will have a good one in the future. Get inside the comments section. Tell me what you thought of the church on Ruby Road, and for goodness sake, make it more coherent than anything that I've said in this particular video. I have been the Chosen Chimp, and I will see you in the new year. Until then, have a good one.